I'd like to invite to the stage, one more time, Mr. Vonley Joseph, who brought us here today.
Good evening all. Thanks for standing up with us for the time. We're at the stage now where the evening's coming to an end, and we're going to start recognising some of our achievements. Now, it's been a very long journey, somewhat 5.5 years. And all part of that journey has really been about engaging and developing individuals. So I won't tell you, I'll let the youngsters tell you today who have come through the channel. And I assure you, a lot of them, when they first came in, some of them were unconfident, some of them had certain issues about themselves from within uni. Some of them had different methods and approaches in what they were doing, but we taught them the basis of ethics, selling ethically, selling on value, putting the right concept in front of the client, and ensuring that the client is totally satisfied. And if the client is not satisfied, make sure they get 100% of their money back. Because that's what it's about. If you're selling to people and they're not happy, then what's left? So what we need to understand is that when we are selling, things need to be sold. And to move things forward, they need to be sold. But it's how you go about doing it. And I think what Bob was saying there is pretty much an open door. We need to look at the situation. And those of you who want to have that conversation with them after, please do. Anyway, on to the first one. And the first award winner is a gentleman who, when I met him, he said to me, "You're going to be my mentor." I said, "No, I'm not, I don't do mentoring." And he said to me, "You will be my mentor." Unfortunately, I've had to mentor him. And he's a pain. But he came through the sales mastery, and if I can ask Bob to come up, please. Because this is the Bob Etherington Sales Awards in honour of Uncle Bob. We call him Uncle Bob, by the way. This is Uncle Bob, and this is Uncle Herbert. We sent him away, he's come back, and he's actually wrote a book as well, which I'm sure he'll be glad to tell you all about when he comes up. So if you'd like to come up, Dean, please, to collect your award.
No, keep clapping, keep clapping. Take your time.
I think he's able to tell you enough.
That's sexy.
Well done,
Wow, man.
Show us it then.
They want to see it, they want to see it.
Show it to the camera.
Bang.
That's really a sexy trophy. Wow. Come with us, Steve. Thank you, Bob. I'm not much of a speaker. No, I'm lying, I am. What I want to say is three things really. Thank you to the Father above. This would never happen if I wasn't blessed. Second, thank you to the wonderful woman who has stood by my side through all my madness, being an entrepreneur. I know I'm a fantastic salesman because I got her. Definitely an observer. Last but not least is Vonley. Having him by my side for the last 5 years has been absolutely fantastic. I have learned a lot arguing with him, telling him that my way is better than him. I was a top salesperson at RBS, you can't talk to me. Going out there and failing miserably, starting my own business. But the biggest thing that I want to share with everybody today, I'm not going to do it properly, I'm not going to take up too much time. The biggest thing that I learned from being an entrepreneur is this, that the greatest sale you ever have to do is to yourself. And you've got to believe that you can do it, you've got to believe that you can survive, and you've got to believe that you are going to achieve everything that you want. So everything that you do in life is selling. If it's for a job, if it's for that wonderful partner, if it's even just for you just to go after your dreams, you've got to sell. So really truthfully, learning how to sell truly is an art, and I learned today also it's a science. So we all should be learning one way or another. Thank you.
Well done, Dean. Keep going on, and Dean's actually supporting and helping people start their own businesses. So, and he has a book out there that he failed to mention.
Oh yeah, the Path to Financial Peace.
The Path to Financial
by
Peace.
Amazon.
We have a few book writers, and that's
My
part of
missus,
the
she writes books, she helps people and publish her own books. I'm great at this.
All right, decent. Thank you, Lee. You're a star. And the next person coming up, we met when we were doing the rounds of libraries. We've done a series of free seminars across Westminster. And she was sitting in the crowd looking quite innocent at the time. And she's gone on and done really great things with fashion. She's taken the skills that we taught her, and she's done really, really good things. And every now and again I get a phone call from her. Oh, I'm in Dubai, I'm here, I'm over here, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And she's now become lifestyle with fashion and lots of other things I'm sure she'll tell you all about. And her name is Jayhan Mer. Welcome.
I do remember you. It's not like I didn't remember you, I do.
Yes.
One of our staff pupils from 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know how I got it all. It was so difficult. I met Bob
About 4 or 5 years ago?
yeah,
Westminster.
doing karate chopping somewhere.
It was.
Yeah. I want to thank Bob for everything he's taught me. Absolutely amazing. And Vonley, who has been my mentor for I don't know how many years, but I've been very difficult. I'm an artist, so I live in my own little world, and I wish at school I was taught how to sell, because artists don't know how to sell. We live in this amazing little bubble of creativity. We dream about changing the world, but so many people like Bob and Bonnie who can actually help us achieve these creations. And because of Bob and Bonnie, I've actually worked with the Queen of Jordan. I do private work for some very high profile people, and I'm selling a service that most people wouldn't want to buy because it's so luxurious, it's so expensive, and I'm doing it because I've learned how to sell. So thank you.
The next person comes out of our community programme with one of the housing estates that we started. When we said, right, we're going to take sales to the grassroots and go inside communities. And we started a project linked to the job centre at the time, but they kind of fizzled out. And Andy, where is he? Andrew Wallace not here? All right, he's on the missing list as usual. Don't worry. And he said, I've got this man. Hello, mate. Good to see you. Give him a round of applause. He's been around London. And he said, I've got this fella, and this fella is a handful. I said, but you guys are supposed to run the club, I've had enough, I need a break. He said, no, you've got to come back in, this fella is something else. So I came back in and I met this fella, his name's Agamemnon Apostolou, and he's got a master's in politics. Remember Agamemnon?
This now, congratulate you while I give it to you. You can see this marvelous thing. Yeah, I should take pictures, man. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You have to say a few words.
Hello everyone. So, it was 2014, and I just finished a few months actually after I finished university. I was a little bit lost. I had the privilege of having a good education, but you know, you have so many theoretical stuff in your head, but you know, they don't teach you the link from that theory in your mind to the commercial reality of life, especially in London, which is the financial capital of the world, as they say. And then I went to the job centre and they thought, there is this, free community thing about sales. I said, okay, I'm interested in business. I wouldn't harm anything. And I found Vonley and Andy, and we just did some sales. And then I got, oh, that's what they do here. And one thing led to the other. Doing sales, and I went to the Bob's seminars, which is amazing. And what really surprises me is the blatant simplicity in things. And they're not maybe not easy, but they're simple. And how they operate. And they link you to the commercial reality of our world today. And it was the key. Then I got a job with International New York Times. I was being, in stalls all over London. I even travelled here and there across the UK and Ireland. It was a great experience. And then we got into the real estate business that I still work now as a sales negotiator, listing properties, showing prime London prime locations. And the key for that was Bob and Vonley, and I can't be more than grateful for that. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. All right, so I was quite overrun with emotion there. I mean, it's a tear to my eye because I can remember when he came in there, and you were a handful, And we do love you, all right? Like we love everybody. We spread love.
Feelings
and that's what it's about. Absolutely. The next fella, when we went out for an entrepreneur, we said, right, we've got to hit all the universities. So we said, right, we've got to go out and get the universities. And one of the Westminster's University said, we'll have you in for the entrepreneurship week. So I said, Uncle Bob, right, we've got to get in the university, there's a chance to get to the graduate. No problem, let's go. We get down there, we do that, we go, great. There we go. So we was full march, Uncle Bob was there, in his regalia, with his bag, ready to go. And on time as usual. And I said, great. We had this audience of graduates. And then afterwards, we had quite a few graduates come up. And we'd already been running the community hub at a place called Waterstead Elby Community Homes, which is a community hub we still run today as our sales surgery. And it's the only community sales hub there is. And those of you who haven't checked it out, please do. Okay, but you have to come by appointment now because we get quite busy. And I said to this gentleman, you're going to be someone. And he said to me, do you really think so? I said, yeah, you've got it. So he said to me, why do you think that? I said, because you've got it, you've got the ability. His name's Tarek Mary, and I think Tarek will come back and tell you all about this journey as he comes along. Please stand up, gentlemen. I've got a lot to say.
Right, I'm going to make your presentation and share it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vonley and Bob, for inviting me back to receive this award. As Vonley said, when we first met at the University of Westminster, alongside my Westminster colleagues here as well, who are here today, I thought Vonley was very eccentric, and I really loved Bob's presentation that day. And I can remember when he cracked the board and thinking, I'm not going to volunteer myself because I don't want to look like a wussy. But, when you get that confidence and belief, then you know that you can achieve whatever it is that you set your mind to. My journey with Vonley and going down to the community centre was truly a humbling experience because I was serving as a Students' Union president at the time, so I had been successfully elected twice to represent over 20,000 students. And then to go and, after finishing university and serving my 2 years Students' Union president, I was jobless. I'm going to the job centre, and at that time, you would think that it would be very easy to walk into any sort of job with the CV, the way my CV looked. But the reality is, it's very hard for young people, and if you come from maybe a minority ethnic background, to just simply walk into a job. And so, having gone to the community centre in West London, travelling on the bus from West to Central each time, and really drilling and going through those activities that we used to do, pretending that we're on we're at a call centre or we're trying to sell a product to the other person, really helped me understand what it means to sell. And I definitely felt like, had it not been for those sessions, I wouldn't have had the confidence to be where I am at today. And I can say, having graduated from the Sales Mastery course, I've gone on to work, just around the corner from here at Freshfields Law Firm. I've worked in an e-learning company selling over £30,000 worth of courses. I've worked for startups. Actually, I've passed an interview that I took last week, and I'm going to be starting my new role at Accenture next Tuesday. I repeat, I want to finish off with, I can't undervalue how important it is to learn how to sell, because I may not be running my own business, although I'll be operating through a limited company, contracting my services out. What I learned was the key situation if you want to get a job is to be able to sell yourself in an interview. And boy, I love that question at the end where they say, now have you got any questions for us? Because that's where I use those principles and say, well, what are you looking for in your ideal person? Tell me what the day-to-day activity, and based on what they say, then you can tailor your experiences to exactly what they're looking for. So by the end of the interview, you can say, I'm your guy, I've answered all your questions. So thank you very much, Von Lee. Thank you very much.
The next lady is a small business lady that I met along the journey, and rather than go into one about her, let's just say she's formidable. She raises kids, she runs a business from home, and I think she's quite invincible in some ways. When I say to her, look, do you think you could do it? She says, yes, I can. I said, but what kind of skills you got in there? I'll find a way. What do you know about Photoshop? I don't know. The bit I know, I'll make it work. And everything she does, whether she's moved from Photoshop to printing, to making clothes, to all sorts of things. All right, she's just formidable. All right, and I really admire what she's done as a mother and raising kids as well. So, Nefertari, I said to her, please come forward.
Don't drop it, no.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Von Lee. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to say a really big thank you to Von Lee and Bob, especially for the sales mastery. Yes, I'm a mother of 5 children. I've got my son here with me this evening. Secret. I'll bring it out one day. I'm not going to talk too long because I need to get him back home to bed. He's got school tomorrow. But I met Von Lee roughly about 5 years ago. I think it's the same time when he met Dean. It was at a networking event that I initially met Von Lee. And at the time, I had just started my sort of greeting card business. And I remember at the end of that event, I was quiet. By the time everyone left that room, no one knew that I was in business because I was afraid to sell myself. I've always shied away from sales because I had sort of negative connotations of what it meant to be a salesperson, someone who's like forceful and trying to push something on somebody. And I, as an artist, as you said, very creative. I love to create things, and I believe that it will bring value to people, but always been afraid to sort of sell. And one of the great benefits that I took away after doing the sales mastery was having that confidence to go out there and really believe in myself, believe that what I have is of value to others. And I remember going out, I think in that 1 week, I hit 12 different shops. I walked into the shops with my portfolio of the cards. I design and create greeting cards, celebration cards, that reflect and represent people of colour. And I went into about 12 different shops in the 1 week, and all of them took on board the cards as I left out shops. So in 1 week I had 12 stockists on board, and it was all thanks to taking on board what I had learned, and I felt really confident after doing that. As Von Lee said, when I started out, I didn't know how to use Photoshop at all. When I first started, I was looking for artists who could create designs and things for me. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how to draw, I didn't know how to use Photoshop. And after getting let down quite a few times, I thought, you know what, I can't sit around waiting for someone to come and do this for me. I've got to teach myself. So I taught myself how to use Photoshop. So going from one design, I've now designed over 600 designs in the last 4 years. In my conservatory 8 years ago, when I started doing handmade cards, it started on a £20 hobby, from selling 1 card to over 9,000 cards last year. And I continue to grow. My children are a great source of inspiration. They actually help And they had helped in the beginning with the production line, when we used to be in the kitchen table, cutting and pasting and everything. But the business has moved forward since then. But sales is definitely an important part of the business. I think as a creative, I didn't really realise that at the beginning, that you had to sort of sell. I just thought it was enough to create something and wait for people to come. They didn't even know it was out there. So yeah, it's very important, and I am really grateful for the opportunity to have come through the Sales Mastery. So thank you very much. And thank you for this beautiful approach.
Next gentleman, when I first met him, was at the Sales Innovation Expo. Me and Bob generally do slots up there on a yearly basis. And he came up to me afterwards and says, I want to learn to sell, with a bit of an accent. So I said to him, what's your situation at the moment? He said to me, I'm not getting any sales. I said, come and see us at the club again, as you'll get to understand the game of the club. It's a club's a grassroots, and that's where we do the surgery. And we eventually got him onto the Sales Mastery. And I said, Hitesh, just go away and do an e-book so we can start generating some more sales for you. He came, I didn't see him, I thought, what's happened to Hitesh? He came back 6 months later and he wrote a book that thick. And he's got a workbook to it, and we're now developing it into a course. Okay? And it's all around CRM and everything else. So, Hitesh Shangala, please come forward.
Shake it like they do the Oscars.
It's too late, so I will keep very short. I really appreciate all the support from Monley, Bob, and Costa Rica. Your insights, your support, your knowledge is really invaluable, and greater things are going to come much more. So next time we meet, I will send more success to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hitesh. Well done. And there's 20 books there that have been given out. I'm not sure how they're going to do them, but he's donated 20 of his books today to be given out to those of you who get chosen. I'm not sure how they're going to do it, but it'll be there. All right. Next person, interesting fella. I sit down with him quite often. At times we have a coffee, and it took me a while to really sit down and get him to recognise that he needs to come through the Sales Mastery. He'd be the first person to say, well, I'm not really a salesperson. He's got a way of saying that, but really he is quite a good salesperson. Right? And he'll find other ways and ways of doing things, but he gets the job done. And he was on one of our panellists earlier, so I won't tell you too much about him because you've heard, but his name is Jay Tickham, and he's doing great things. Okay, Jay, please come forward.
Old school.
Absolutely.
I have to go and sit in my chair now.
Yes, I'm not a salesman. I'll be the first to admit it. I think Bonley and I constantly have debates about inbound marketing versus selling. And I think I'm kind of tipping the point now. But really, I think I've had a fantastic career in corporate life. I've worked with some of the biggest organizations in the world. But that was more as an employee, and I never kind of felt satisfied. So I had this entrepreneurial ambition, and late 2012, I basically left the corporate world, took a bold step, and stepped into the entrepreneurial world to start up my consultancy. And to be honest, because I couldn't sell, I was more the sort of technical guy, and I think the more educated you are, I've got 3 degrees, the more educated you are, the worse it is, to be honest. So, you have to kind of take 5 to 10 years to unwind first before you can make success again. But for the first 2 years, I didn't make any revenue. So, I had saved up some money and I blew literally everything. And then I kind of eventually met Bonley. I went on the sales training and pivoted my business into fintech. So I think the first thing really, before you start selling, is understand what the market needs and understand what value you deliver. And unless you get that right, it's pointless selling. So I got to selling too quickly. I tried to sell too quickly, and it was more of a push rather than a pull. And it's only when I did the Sales Mastery that I sort of took a step back and understood what the client really needs. What's my value proposition? And I spent a lot of time, and actually it's still right up to today, in the world of fintech. it's still something that's developing. It's still something I question day in, day out. And anytime I do a product, it's more about basically understanding the customer need and then deciding how best to go about selling it. And I certainly, Bonnie and I are talking about it, I think we're looking at, I'm not a salesman, I recognize that, so I'm going to get people to help me. And we're going to get apprentices on board to try and help us to sell. So I think it's really a big thank you to Bonley. I mean, Bonley and I have, he challenges me very frequently. We have very good discussions. And thanks to Bob as well, I think, the simplicity in terms of selling. I think when you do too much of education, as I said, you get very complex and you start thinking very big things. I think what you made me realize is keep it simple. And that's the big thing. So thanks very much.
The next person, I call him our evangelist, because he's out there and forever he's always calling out and he's always on some sort of mission. Another one from the university programme. We used to have them marching round in the community hall. And one of the first things we used to do for a breakdown, do you remember what we used to do for the breakdown, Tarek, Imran? Do you remember? Do you remember what we used to roll around doing? What did you used to say? To be or not to be! I am somebody! And I used to have them doing that for 5 minutes as a ritual going around. Alright? And now you see them going around in a circle. We've got pictures and videos of it. To be or not to be! I am somebody! I am somebody! And that was the warm-up, you know? And they are really somebody. So it's coming from Westminster University again, a lovely fella. And he gets in touch, very passionate about what he does now. And he's going on to do great things. His name's Imran Ahmed. Where are you?
Beautiful thing, huh? Wow, your Oscar. Wow, I treasure that. I have to go and sit down on my old man's chair.
I know it's been a long night, so I'll keep it short. All I can say is that this man won me when I met him. He completely and entirely changed my life. That's no exaggeration. I left uni completely clueless on what I wanted to do. And then this man, alongside Bob, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes which you probably don't know about, they essentially guided my career and got me to where I am. I've done lots of different things, but one of the proudest things that I've done is last year I got to work with one of the main mayoral candidates last year during the London elections. But there's loads of stuff that I've done, but all I can say is what these guys preach, you couldn't put a price to it. I went to uni, wasted so many years there. If I could go back, if I could honestly go back, I would invest in sales mastery. These guys are awesome and they deserve all the credit and backing from you guys as well. And that's it really for me, thank you.
Keep evangelising, I like it. I love the video, by the way. This other young gentleman, he didn't really go on a career in sales, and he's just the proof that it's not always about sales and what sales can do for you as an individual. Because he came in, and I'm not going to go into the multi-pool sort of situations he was going through, but let's just say he's come from a young man into a man. Okay? And he's doing things, and he's putting back now, he's helping young people, he's become a very constructive youth worker, but as he says, I'm always selling myself to these young people. I'm always using the opening questions and the techniques that you and Uncle Bob taught me. So I'm going to bring him forward. He's the first of our youth that have come through, that we'll watch them grow, and now they're going into young men, and it's such a pleasure to see them wearing these beards and their chests going up and looking all beefy, and they're getting well looked after when they come in there with scrimpy little things, you know? His name is Adam Rashid, and please come forward.
So much.
And here I will keep on producing. Yeah, well, just to sort of break it down in a little notch, what I do is outdoor activity instructing. So residential centres, we teach young people who don't necessarily get experiences of the rural area or countryside from the inner city, and we give them that experience, and we teach them like a lot of core soft skills, so stuff like communication and teamwork, stuff that we kind of just technically pick up and take for granted, if I'm honest. But like, yeah, this whole course like really changed my life. As Imran said, it changed my life because I was going through a lot, and I was in a shell, I was in a bubble, just consumed with the fact that, you know, I would listen to myself and just myself. And I remember when I first met Bonley, and you'll remember this day. We was in I believe a community town sort of community hall, and he said to me, "Can you sell?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I can." And he said, "Well, sell me this polystyrene cup." And I went into it and I started depicting like the features of the polystyrene cup. He said, "You're telling me you're not selling?" And I was like, and it just kind of all started from there. And since then, I kind of just preach where I go, hoping one day someone might get the message. But yeah, that's I can't thank Bonnie and Bob enough. And thank you guys for turning up.
Right, this next young fella we watched grow, and when he came onto the programme, he called our operation in the community hall boot camp. Apparently I'm the commander, and I grill people, and I drill them, and I make them go around doing circles. Is that right? What do you think, Tarek? Is that right?
Yeah.
Eh? Oh, absolutely. That's why you're all out there being proper soldiers now. You're standing up and being candid and representing. But this next young fella, he's managed to start his own business. It's called Swagger Up Clothing, and he's got a bit of swagger about him as well. So come forward, Hakeem Burke.
Fly boy. I know, red's my favourite colour.
Don't know what to say, you know? Thanks. Pain is gain, you know? You know this, man. You're pain, you know? Don't know where to start from. This clothing business because of my uncle in Old Street. That's where we started. So more or less, thanks to my family and my friends that supported me from the beginning. And well, it's been a lot of dark days. A lot of dark days. You know, it's been crazy. Can't lie. My uncle said to keep your head up, don't lose focus. So that's what I'm doing. Thank you very much.
Well done. By the way, next week you're coming back to get one plate, one spoon, one fork and one cup. Alright? Right, this was a dilemma. I really struggled to get this one right. But just through pure tenacity and what this individual has gone through, I've had to pick the best overall achievement. Believe me, I love you all. You're all my babies. I love you all. Alright, I've worked with you all. You all know that. And the merit is there. But this one particular individual has to get the edge purely because she's rolling with 5 children and she really makes it work. So therefore, Tari, you are the best achiever.
Trying to compose myself here. Hold on, I'm crying. Oh wow, what a surprise. Oh my gosh. Deep breaths. I suppose I could say thank you to my children first and foremost. Yeah, they've put up with a lot from me over the last 8 years trying to build a business. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much, Bonley and Bob, for this recognition. Thank you to the universe, the creator. Wow. I hope that I can continue down this journey, inspiring others, empowering others to follow their dreams, because this really started from a dream. If I really go back to how the business started, I decided about 8 years ago that I didn't want to work for anybody for the whole of my life. I wanted to create a legacy that I can leave behind for my children. And each time I fell pregnant, and I went from earning decent money to next to nothing when you go on maternity leave, next to nothing. That was when I was able to plant the seeds to start to look towards building a business. And there have been a lot of tough times. We've been through being deemed homeless and having to live in a homelessness unit for the children, and still having to find that strength to continue designing and creating the cars, and having that belief in myself that what I'm doing is going to benefit them, being able to leave something behind for them. My eldest one has lived in 9 different homes because we've moved around quite a lot because of, challenges. Life throws up a lot of challenges for us. I'm sure we've all been through really tough times. But it's not losing sight of your vision and believing that you have got something that you can share with people, something that will inspire, empower, or uplift them. And I'm truly grateful for everybody who has supported me, who's believed in me, and has just said, focus on your dreams and keep going. And I guess it's because of that why I'm here today, so thank you all very much.
Round of applause for Mr. Surrey again. Well done. We'll wrap that up and put it in the box for you, all right?